Welcome back to another real estate market update for the greater Milwaukee area. My name is Marcus Auerbach. I'm a local real estate agent here in Mequon, and today we're taking a look at the November 2020 real estate market on a local and on a national level. And in the end, I have a little forecast for what might be in store for us for the next couple of months. Before we go there, let me take you back in time a little bit into spring of this year. In April, the economic sky was falling, and we were not sure if and when the economy would be recovering. And fortunately, we have seen a rather strong recovery in the third quarter. And of course, we're not completely out of the woodwork. A lot of industries like retail, like hospitality, are still majorly suffering. We will see that later. I have some unemployment numbers for you. But one industry that has been very strong and has been leading this economic recovery is actually the real estate industry. And I have some numbers here for you that might surprise you. This is specific to Wisconsin. So you can see here that every real estate transaction has a very strong economic impact on our local Wisconsin GDP, about $55 billion every year, which makes almost 16% of the GDP. And that is a major contributor to our overall economic recovery. I'm on track to closing about 50 transactions this year, and that is something that makes me personally very happy, not only because I've been able to help people to get into a new, better, bigger, nicer home, but also because we all want to contribute to this, and I think it's so important that we all work together on this. We all want to contribute to an economic recovery. And so real estate has been a major source of this in Wisconsin, but also on a national level. You can see here that we're somewhere in the middle of the pack here with about $73,000 per transaction economic impact. Of course, this is way less than our friends out here on the West Coast or on some states on the East Coast, but it's also not that low. So the average is $88,000, and the real estate market has been strong across the U.S., and it has been a major contributor to the recovery. Let's take a look on what's going on locally with the housing market. And so to make some sense of these numbers here, we're comparing here October with October from last year. And homes just listed, that is basically the supply that is coming in. And then we have homes for sale, which is our inventory. And then we have homes that have sold in the last month, which is the demand. And what you can see here is that new home listings are up slightly. So we're seeing a little bit more homes coming on the market than we have seen in October of 2019. But we have still less inventory. Why is that? Because we're selling more homes that are coming on the market on a monthly basis. So available inventory is way down and sales are way up. That's basically the takeaway here. And the same story if you look on total MLS, if you look for the Milwaukee area specifically, or if you're looking on my home county here, Ozaukee County. So what does this do to median sales prices? We have seen the peak in August. In September, we came down a little bit. In October, we have been stabilizing. We're still about 9.84% ahead of where we were last year in median sales price. So real estate prices are going up. We have hit the peak in August with plus 13% and 10.5%, I think it was in September. And now we're coming down to under 10, 9.8%. I think we will be finishing the year with maybe plus 7.5%, plus 8%. Maybe a little bit more than that. So prices have been increasing throughout this year, and it does not look like this trend is stopping. It looks like we're stabilizing pretty much on the current level. When we look at buyer activity, we have very good data from showing time here, and you got two curves here. The blue one gives you a reference from how strong buyer activity was, buyer showings in the year of 2019. And the orange curve, of course, is this year. You can see the impact of the lockdown early in spring and then the recovery. And the interesting thing is that buyer activity all through this year has been even higher than we have seen in 2019. And 2019 was a very hot real estate market. And this year we're even hotter. Of course, seasonally, we're coming down now towards the end of the year and towards the holiday season. But we are still 16.2% higher than we were at the same time of last year. So very, very strong buyer demand and buyer traffic in Wisconsin and in the Milwaukee area. What does this do to price negotiations? So we are still in a very competitive market. And from all the numbers that I'm tracking, this is the one that expresses it the best. This is sold to list ratio. So what this number is telling you is what is the percentage that a transaction actually closed in relation to what the seller was asking for. And you can see here it's the fourth month that we're actually closing transactions over 100% over asking price. So 65% of all the listings on MLS in the Milwaukee metro area are usually selling very quickly. Quickly means in 3 to 7 days, usually over the first weekend. Of course, that leaves you with another 35% that are sitting overpriced listings, generally get ignored by the market. The market is very effective with that. And so later on they have to do a price decrease, and once the price is right and the condition is right, then those get picked up as well. But the strategy and the marketing is key, of course. But in general and on average, listings are selling for more than what sellers are asking for. This is very remarkable because historically this number has always been around 96, 97, maybe 98%. I didn't even know that we would ever see a market where sold to list would go over 100%. So I think this is very interesting when you look at these numbers and you see how hot the housing market is and how strong the demand from buyers is, and there is still too little inventory. And on the other hand, there is a lot of potential sellers that would like to trade up into something that has a bigger backyard or more space and bedrooms to work from home or a finished basement, and they're hesitating and they're holding back because they are still concerned. They're wondering if now is even a good time to put a house on the market. And here's a recent report from Zillow that just came up, and they're listing the top 3 reasons why homeowners are not putting the house on the market. And the number 1 reason is that life is too uncertain right now. Number 2 is financial uncertainty. And number 3 is COVID-19 health concerns. So on that note, I've recently posted a video about the things that we do specifically to bring a house on the market safely for buyers and for sellers and sell and complete a real estate transaction under COVID-19 conditions. If you're interested in that, then I can post a link in the description box below, or you can look it up on my YouTube channel depending on where you're seeing this. But the other thing that's also contributing, I think, is that some people are seeing that home prices are going up, and they are wondering if waiting until next year might be a good idea, and they get even more for their house because prices are getting up. And what they have to keep in mind is that the market that you're selling in is also the same market that you're buying in. So Jeff Tucker from Zillow here is saying it in the same way. He's saying the catch is that waiting to sell may raise the cost of a trade-up. This falls low mortgage rates, which make a trade-up more affordable on a monthly basis, are not guaranteed to last. So I think it comes down, you have to look at your personal situation and then make a decision based on that. But in my opinion, you can go either which way. When you look on a national level, you get the same picture. Here's the seller traffic index. At least Wisconsin has turned light blue. It used to be gray if you've watched previous videos. So we are light blue at least, but nationwide sellers are still holding back generally. And when you look at the buyer traffic index, everything is blue. So, Wisconsin is not alone. We're not the only ones that are seeing sellers that are hesitating and buyers that want to get into a property. Next, let's take a look at some economic data. And if you've been wondering what actually happened to the stimulus money, here we have a breakdown. About 2/3 of the stimulus money has been used by households to either pay down debt or to save money, which is great because it increases the financial resilience of those households. And about 29% of the money has been actually spent on the economy and went to businesses, which is great too. On that note, we're seeing an interesting development with new business applications. So this is Americans actually taking the economy in their own hands and adjusting and adapting to that new environment and just creating new businesses and new services that are needed. That also helps with the unemployment filings. So from almost 7 million a week, we are down to about 10%, 1/10 of that, to about 0.75 million. So this is going in the right direction. On a national level, that means we're going from about 25 million to down to 7.3 million. But I think it's going to be increasingly tougher to make progress here because there is a core unemployment rate, and to get this down to 6% to 5% will be very tough. And that is also a statement that came out from the Federal Reserve this week. They say based on the latest average projection, it will take firms more than 4.5 years to recover to their pre-COVID employment levels. Also slightly positive news from mortgages that are currently enrolled in a forbearance program. As you know, forbearance is basically when you're not making currently mortgage payments and the missed payments get tagged on at the end of the mortgage. We are down to 5.83% as of October from about 6.9% in September. So we're moving in the right direction. And this is something that I'm keeping a careful eye on because a large number of forbearance mortgages could actually translate into foreclosures if they go delinquent at the end. But so far things are looking relatively good. A substantial portion of those are getting resolved in a positive way, and we have a relatively small segment here that is actually turning out delinquent. Selman puts it this way. They say the likelihood of us having another foreclosure crisis like we had in 2008 is about 0%. We shall see. I think that's worth keeping an eye on it. But foreclosures are at the moment at such a low rate. Only about 1% of all sales are currently distressed sales. And I think we will probably see an increase of that in 2021. But the number is so low that it will probably not have a major impact on the real estate market. Projections for home prices are strong for next year, depending on who you ask. I think for Milwaukee, we are going to be in for another 4 to 5% conservatively. It could also be more. It's just a function of supply and demand. If you're interested in the topic specifically, I have posted a video recently about my 2021 home price prediction that is going into the details of local Milwaukee supply and demand and why the market is doing what the market is doing. So I'll link on that in the description below. Then let's talk quickly about housing affordability. The NAR puts out a housing affordability index, and we are still trending very good here at 159, which is, I've taken the liberty to label that here in the very affordable area. So the higher the index is, the higher the affordability. And so we have seen home prices go up over the last years, quite significantly actually, nationally and in Milwaukee. And when you look at affordability, then affordability is now a lot better than it had been in the years from 1990 to about 2008. And the reason is mostly interest rates and also that wages have increased a little bit. So we're still doing good. The trend is pointing down as real estate prices are increasing. But if you measure the affordability by looking at your monthly household expenses that go towards mortgage payments, then we are still in the very affordable area here. Mortgage rates are predicted to stay very, very attractive. If you have not refinanced yet, then you probably should be thinking about this. A lot of my clients are getting rates in the 2.7, 2.8% range. And the outlook is rather positive here, but it remains to be seen if we are staying with interest rates that low. So overall, I think we're still dealing with massive economic challenges, and the road to full economic recovery is going to be a long and a tough one. But at least it seems things are headed in the right direction. And you can see that also here on my chart for the Milwaukee real estate market with lagging and leading indicators. And you can see that my leading indicators have been steadily improving throughout the year. We're here in October, and things are looking pretty good for a very robust December market. In fact, I think the December in Milwaukee might be the strongest real estate market we will have on record. At the same time, I also think it might be the best window to buy right now because seasonally speaking, the level of competition is reducing a little bit. The market is cooling a little bit off, slowing down a little bit, even though it's remaining very, very hot and very competitive, but better now than it was back in August, and probably better now than it is going to be next year in spring. Buyer traffic, I think, is going to jump again right after New Year's. I'm observing this every year, that buyers are slowing down just a little bit for the holiday season, but much sooner than the sellers. The buyers are back in the market. They're jumping right on their computers on January 1st, January 2nd, and looking for inventory to buy, which is not out there because sellers are waiting for the grass to green and for later in spring. So that is an annual misunderstanding between buyers and sellers that I'm witnessing, and I have no reason to believe that is going to be different this year. Also, a typical behavior that I'm seeing every year in spring is that prices are increasing. So with the new spring market here, sellers are going to be very confident, and we're going to see another jump in prices. Exactly to the reason why I said before, it's right now might be a better window to buy than you are going to see next year in spring. Builder confidence remains on an all-time high. This is very important because builders are spending a lot of time and a lot of resources trying to forecast what the market and what the economy is going to hold. So builder confidence is something to pay attention to, because these guys are betting a lot of money on the fact that the subdivision that they're starting to develop this year is actually going to sell next year and then the year after. So the fact that builder confidence is high makes me feel very confident as well for the market for next year. We are also experiencing a national labor and skilled labor and material shortage. If you have tried recently to order appliances, you may have seen that every appliance seems to be delayed or having an really long lead time. We are seeing the same thing with construction supplies, in particular with lumber. Lumber prices have more than doubled this year, which is also leading to an increase in production cost for new construction builders. So that's a little bit of the forecast, what we can expect for the next months. I hope you got some good information out of that video. Thank you very much for taking the time and watching it. Check out some other videos on my YouTube channel, and I would love it if you hit the subscribe button, and if I will see you at the next video.